Thank you so much, Sheila. All right, everyone. I'm going to try and move my screen over a little bit so that way I'm not looking off to the side. We wanted to welcome everyone this morning. I know we're a little bit early, so I'm going to try and um, go a little bit slower so that way we give people a little more time to log in. But I also don't want to take away time from Stacy because she's got a lot of great information for us this morning. So as you can see on the slide, we have Stacy this morning from the Greater Columbia River Information Services Center. Sorry, that's quite a long name. Um, Apparently, several of the ESDs are um, pooling their power. Is that a correct way of saying that, Stacy?
I like that. That's a good way to kind of announce it. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So Stacy is with us, and she will be covering um, information that she shares with districts on skyward migration to cumulative. Your district might not be moving to cumulative in the near months or whatever, but the information that she is going to share with us regarding health codes, running reports is still very helpful, especially going this into the spring with the district assessment coming up. So this is all information that you can use in preparation for the district assessment. If we have time, we'd love to have your questions. I did send Stacy a couple of questions from other people. So, um, but please feel free to let us to either put it in the chat if you have a question for Stacy, or just go ahead and raise your hand when that time comes. After Stacy is done around 10 o'clock, we'll have Dr. Wallace on to give us our public health update. Always look forward to hearing from him. I'm sure there's a lot going on for us to learn about today. And then at 10:30, we'll have our Kathy Murett here at the ESD give us our school nurse update, and then we'll be done at 11. So everyone, I want to make sure that you are aware that today's meeting we are recording, but we also recognize that sometimes that can be a little intimidating. So if you do have a question, please put it in the chat or raise your hand um, so that way you can participate. We do want you to participate. Excuse my voice. We do want you to participate and not feel intimidated by the recording. People come back and watch these later and they'll learn from your questions. So please don't be shy in asking. Also, we want to make sure that we are using these updates on a monthly basis to find resources, practices, and opportunities to improve our practice, safeguard our students' health and safety. Our meeting goals, as always, are to identify 2 resources, practices, or opportunities that we can use to support our work. And then, of course, the framework is on there for you as well. So again, reminders that this is recorded and to keep yourselves on mute for us, and let us know when you have a question either in the chat or raise your hand and we'll help you out. If you have any questions about having getting clock hours for these meetings, excuse me, please let me know. You can email me or Sheila, or you can put it into the chat and we can help you out with understanding that process. So thank you so much. And I'm going to turn the time over to Stacy.
Well, thank you for that great introduction. I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. All right. Hopefully everybody can see that well. All right, so today I am here to talk about some migration cleanup. My name is Stacy Kostelnik, and I am one of 16 software support analysts for the Greater Columbia River, and one of 6 migration analysts that will be helping districts go through the migration process. So the Greater Columbia River consists of ESD 105, 112, and 171, and we're working together to kind of pull in regional support and try to provide you with some standardized support across our regions. If you've ever attended one of my sessions, one of the first things I do like to start off with is just security. Security is such a wide module and everybody has a little bit different. So if you see anything in today's session, and we are going to stay mainly in that SMS software because we're going to talk about cleanup. But if you do see anything in the session today that you do not have access, jot it down. You can talk to your security admins to be able to kind of get access to those areas. We all know software updates very frequently, so it could be very possible that you do not have access to some of these areas that are kind of pertinent to help you in this cleanup process. All right, so we do kind of have a session outline. I do want to say that as we go through these cleanups, anytime that my team is addressing cleanup items in SMS, when we get to health codes, we strongly recommend that school nurses complete this. You guys have that background, that knowledge, you're working in those, not necessarily maybe in the code tables, but with those individual student records. And the last thing we want is any student records to be changed inaccurately. So we do highly recommend that these are completed by a school nurse to kind of fend off some of those errors. So in today's session, we're going to take a look at kind of that hot ticket items, which is going to be our health code table review. And in that review, we're going to take a look at a couple reports that are going to be handy for you to be able to crunch the student data that you have and the codes in your system. We're going to take a look at how we manage those codes, whether it is simply adding a code because we have a new one out, deleting it, inactivating, and then maybe even merging those systems. We do have additional cleanup opportunities. So even after today, if you ever want to need additional help or want to look at your code table very specifically, we do have open labs. Some are on Zoom. Every other month, they kind of fluctuate. So every other month, we have them on Zoom. And then we do have them in person at the ESD here in Wenatchee. When your district is actually selected to go through the migration process, your admin team will actually be given a student migration plan that also has additional opportunities to be able to attend cleanup. So there will be quite a few areas. So if you're ever struggling, please let us know. You can always reach out to us and we're going to be able to help you with that software end of it. So this session, you are more than welcome to walk through in your SMS database too. However, when running any of the utilities, we want to kind of pause, really look at those codes before you're actually deleting or merging anything in the system. All right, so as I'm sure most of you guys know, we have those DOH standardized health codes. Those are developed by our WSNDW, so the Washington School Nurse Data Work Group. And those really hit 4 different areas that we're talking about. Our health conditions or our chronic health condition codes. We have our dispositions, our treatments or interventions, and then our office visit reasons. So 4 different areas. We mainly focus in on health conditions. That is one of the largest tables and usually where we see the cleanup. That area is normally where we see some district used codes. And that's the area where we really try to standardize. However, it really is important to hit all 4 of those areas to make sure you have the proper codes. These codes really are, they're standardized to be able to help you with that annual assessment and even just normal student management records. So when we can get all of the districts using standardized codes, even our support outlets, say for instance, our Nurses Corp or here at the student software level, those codes are standardized. It's much easier to be able to help you kind of manage or even set up your templates to run those annual assessments. So without further ado, we're just going to jump into the database and kind of take a look at it. Now, as we go through, if you do have any questions, please jot them down. I'm more than happy to kind of stop and take a look. I do know we're on a time frame, so we are going to try to get through as much as possible and leave it open for questions. But this really is for you guys. So please let me know if there's something we need to go back at and look at again. All right, so I am logged into Sandbox. So this is a training database that we use for all of our sessions. There is no confidential information shared. All of this data has been scrambled, entered in with different trainings that we've done. So there's no actual real student content in this system. So we're going to pay attention to our health code tables. That's where all of this starts. And so we're going to navigate out there and take a look at some of the ways you can kind of manage it and track it to be able to help you clean up the system. So I will say here in the database, I am going to be at the district level. I know many of you, especially if you're a larger school district, you may have a nurse that works in just elementary or just high school. However, when we're talking about code tables, it's very important to be at the district level. So if you have a school that has many different nurses, if you're lucky to have a couple nurses in your building, it may be something you want to work on together and look at, or designate one individual, because changing codes will change it district-wide. So if you have a student maybe with an allergy, and you have a student with an allergy in elementary, if you change that code, it's going to change it for everybody, no matter what. So we always want to look at this at our district level. So here at the top, I'm going to stay in this district level. So we can see that we have our different entities. We're just going to stay in this top entity here. And we're going to navigate to office, and we're going to spend our time here in our health records area. So in our health records, under setup and codes, so office, health records, setup and codes, this is where the majority of our code tables live that we're using every day. So you're going to be able to find your office visits, your treatments, and your health condition codes in this table. So we're going to focus in on our health conditions. So under codes, I'm just going to go down to my health conditions, this HE report. And what it does is it automatically populates the code tables for us. So you don't have to enter anything else. You click on it, it automatically takes you into a table. I like to do, especially because we're working in, I mean, it's still a lot of records, but it is fairly limited. The first thing I do when I come into this table is I actually extend my records just so I can see everything at face value. Nothing's hidden. I don't have to move back and forth between just 20 records. I pull them all up to be able to take a look. So in this health code table, you're going to see that you have your basic code, your short description, long description. If you have any specific security set up on codes, and then what that status is. Now, I've worked with a lot of districts and health codes. I've seen some that are very, very clean. They were lucky enough to kind of get those and start their systems with those standardized codes. And then I've had some districts who have used a lot of district-driven codes, meaning they have just picked a code that aligns with what they like, and they have entered it, and they're kind of doing that management for the district assessment report kind of outside, like in the template itself. And so that makes it a little tougher. So with this, the whole idea is to kind of standardize them. And so we can see our code table here, and I can see right off the bat in this database, I have 3 different allergy codes that my district has built. I have an A1, A2, and A3. However, when we look at those new standardized DOH codes, which I do believe I have it up here, see if it'll switch over. You will get the full list of those standardized codes. And if you've been looking at these, you can tell we don't have those allergy codes anymore. We have them actually broken out into individual allergy codes, everything from other, environmental, food, insect, and so on. So when we're thinking about our database and looking at the codes that we have in there, these 3 codes probably need to be cleaned up. They are being selected. They are currently active codes. So anybody putting in a health condition can select those codes, when really we want to pull them down into the appropriate area. Now, because I have 184 records and it seems it's a lot to manage, what I like to do, especially if I know right off the top, I probably have some concerns I need to address, is I actually pull this out into Excel. It gives me something to manage, something I can kind of keep notes on. So then I know what I need to do after I do some investigation, and I can use that Excel sheet to then either delete or merge records. So in this code table, you do have the ability to pull it off into Excel. So right within the code table, you can hit this little Excel button. And I like to export it into XLSX, but you do have the option for CSV and just an Excel workbook. And I'm simply just going to hit export. And all it's going to do is create this exact screen in Excel for me. So if I know I have a lot of cleanup, I can pull this off and I can actually kind of adjust this. Oops, let's pull it back over here. And when I do this, especially when I'm working with a lot of districts, I'll put in some additional columns. Say, for instance, is this a code we're going to delete, merge? Just to kind of give me some reference points. Now, you guys are more than welcome to look at these records however you wish. I know this has been very helpful with a lot of the districts I've worked with, but everybody works a little differently. So use this as you see fit. And you're going to kind of see this come into play as we look through some of these codes. So we knew right off the bat that we need to investigate these allergy codes. So I can highlight them. Okay, I'm going to investigate these codes. And then you can simply kind of go down the list and you can compare them with those standardized codes. What do I have? What do I don't have? Is there a code missing? So on and so forth. So I can see I have my allergy codes. Looks like I have ADD and ADHD broken apart. And if I look at those standardized codes, I will know that the ADHD is now actually one category. If I scroll down here, it's actually one category. So instead of breaking them apart, there is just one standardized code. So kind of investigating that and getting familiar with those, I know that those ADHD codes are something I also need to investigate. So after you've kind of pulled this together and you're starting to look through them and you see those codes that, okay, we need to do some investigation. What do I do from here? How do I look at these codes? How do I know who's attached to them? And how do I then update them? How are we doing so far? Everybody good with this before we move on? Good. Okay. All right. So we want to actually go out and investigate before we do any type of code management, because the most important thing is where are these codes living in the system and who are they currently attached to? So I'm going to back out of my code table. And up here in my Office tab, back under Health Records, I have my reports. So I'm going to click on Reports. And this will take us into a slew of pretty mainly high used reports. I mean, we have everything from all health to accident injury, diabetes care log, but we're focusing on those health conditions. So we have our health condition report. I'm sure many of you are probably used to running this. And we're just gonna start from scratch so you can see it all built. So with this, I'm gonna come in and add a new template. And I like to label it what I'm researching. So say we're going to start with allergies. I like to label it that I'm doing it for allergies specifically, because then when I go to my print queue, if I'm doing a lot of these, then I can actually see. So here's my print queue. I can actually see what report I was running and what I was actually researching. So if you ever need to go back in that time frame, you're going to be able to pull those again. So we can title our report. So I'm just going to do cleanup. Allergy. You have your report types. This is the first thing that we talk about is our report types and in our ranges. Now with this, because we were looking at the code table, we want to see everything that's attached. Now, whether you're a small district or a very large district, these reports can take some time to run. So it is okay to run this report and kind of have it run in the background. But I would recommend running it for active, then inactive, or just do it for both. So if you want to crunch maybe all of your current kids, everybody who's currently active in your buildings, and you want to make sure their records are all handled first, you can choose to switch it over to active and crunch those. But I do highly recommend that you look at all the records in your system, just so we get them all. That is the only thing that we're going to pay attention to in this area. Everything else can be left alone. So I'm going to leave it as both. And because we want to see everything, we're going to leave things very wide open. So our additional student ranges, we want our birth dates to stay wide open because we want to grab everybody. Our print students, now this one is set to bring in both, so with or without conditions. We want to see only kids with conditions. If you do both here, you're going to get a very, very long report and see a lot of student records that are just unnecessary because they would have never had a health condition on them. So in the student area, we are going to limit this down to only with conditions. However, in our critical alert, we are going to leave it as both. Many schools use critical alerts for many different things. It could even extend out to parenting plans. A lot of them stem out to health. So depending on your district, just to ensure that you're getting all of your records, I would leave it as both. If you do not have it set as both, and say you have a student out there that has a critical alert that says maybe allergies to bees, and it is in the critical alert, it automatically excludes that record because it doesn't fit within the ranges. So I'd rather be safe and just pull it all. In our health condition ranges, it sets automatically to the school year. So it's trying to help you crunch the data and keep you up to date for this school year. Now in code management, especially moving into the cumulative world, we want to see all the records that are going to come over. We're going to change the school year just to zeros. We want to see everything from the dawn of time all the way up until this school year. We don't want to limit any exam dates or even entered by. We want to leave that wide open. And what I want to draw your attention to is this include all conditions. So because we want to run it and we want to see everything, we're going to leave the comments and the treatments, but we're going to actually uncheck this include condition codes because this is going to bring up your code table. So this is that same code table that we were looking at prior. This brings up everything in your system, even if they're inactive. Even if they're inactive codes, it still brings up everything. But now, because we have kind of looked at our code table and we have that Excel and we know we want to look and see what's been attached to these allergy codes or these ADD and ADHD codes, we're going to only select the codes we want to review. Now, I find when looking at this, I do not go down and select our other allergy codes. These are already broken out. We're already using those. We're already marking them if a student has a food allergy or an insect allergy. So I'm really only trying to crunch the codes that I want to get rid of or clean up. So I'm just going to select the 3 codes that we're going to look at. And I'm going to hit OK. Oops, let's go back to this. So now this is unchecked, but it's because they're now checked within the condition code area. We are going to print record specific notes. So if any of you have district defined codes like those allergy codes, you put an allergy, but most of the time you'd put in notes, say, hey, this is a bee allergy or tree nuts. So we want to actually print those specific notes to give us an idea of why this code was being used and hopefully be able to determine rather than having to go out to every student specifically. Let's just try to get it all onto the report. I'm also going to print those critical alerts just in case we added notes in there as well that may be relevant to these code areas. And that's it. Everything else we can leave as is and we can save and print. So our hot ticket items on this is print with conditions only, changing that school year because we want to see everything, and then limiting your condition code so you're not seeing all that data all at once. We only want to look at the records that we are specifically trying to update possibly. All right, and then we would hit save and print. Now I'm not going to hit save and print because in this database it's quite a large one. It'll take forever to print. So I'm going to back out and I'm just going to go into my print queue because I've already ran it this morning and we were looking at this allergy. So I'm going to hit view and zoom in for you. All right, so luckily I only have 3 records. You guys may have a lot more. So if you're crunching these codes, don't get discouraged, just kind of pick through them, look at them, take your time. even if these aren't cleaned up by the time you get to migration, everything does migrate over into cumulative. We try to get most of it done in SMS because there are a few processes in SMS that are little that are available. For instance, your merge. We're going to talk about the merge process, and that's not an option available in cumulative currently. So getting those cleaned up now is ideal. It'll save you time and a lot of effort. But don't get overwhelmed with these reports. Try to break them down, take them, we're looking at allergies, not at everything all at once, and just kind of make a plan on how to clean them up. So in here, I have my 3 students that came in. I can see the school year that they came in, grade, race, the date of the actual condition, the status of the condition code. So this isn't the status of the student specifically, it's actually the status of the code that's coming in. And so I have my A1 and A3 on this report. If I scroll down, it just gives me a quick breakdown of those specific allergies. So not a whole lot of additional information here on the summary report. But the student records are very important because I know A1 is now connected in my database somewhere. And it looks like there was a note that this specific A1 was a bee allergy. This A1 looks like it was a tree nut allergy. And then I have another A3 that's an insect. So in these scenarios, my A1 would not be available for merging because we can see our bee allergy and our tree nut. If you're going to merge records and take A1 and merge it into a new code, this would not be appropriate because then both of these students would be marked with one of our DOH codes. And we know that insect and food allergy are 2 separate. Okay, where our A3 would be available for merging because I only have 1 record and it's only set to an insect of bee. So if I was looking at this Excel spreadsheet that I pulled of my code tables, my A1 would not be okay to merge. So this would be a no, we're unable to merge. And maybe we need to do some investigation. Maybe I want to add a different column and say, investigate. There were no records tied to A2. So this would be, we can delete A2. And our A3, we had 1 record that would be available for merging. Now, the reason why I do this Excel spreadsheet, because we're usually looking at a lot of data. And so I can go through and say I'm done for the day. I can save it off. Now I can come in and I can do the same thing for my ADD and ADHD report. So then when I go to actually manage the codes, I can do it all at once. So that's why I say it's really up to you. If you prefer to go finish all of your allergies and go merge those codes now and get it done and then move to the next code set, you can do that as well. So you do have a few options there. If you're ever concerned with how you're managing these, reach out and we can walk through it again. We can set up times to Zoom individually and help you through some of that cleanup. Okay, so looking at these codes, we know that we have some A1s that we probably want to investigate because we know that bee allergy has its own code and tree nuts do as well. So let's take this a step further and kind of look at those codes specifically on the actual student. So here's our bee allergy. I'm gonna close this real quick. So I'm in my print queue, so I'm just gonna back out of these so I can come up here to my student and student profile. All right, so here's my kiddo that came up on my report. Looks like his allergy was put in on 113. I can actually come over here and just edit this. And we can see that here's that A1 and the condition code cannot be changed. Like it's locked in, it's stuck. You cannot change it. The only thing you can do at this point on this record is void it out and add a new one in or inactivate it. So you have 2 options. You can void it like this one didn't happen and re-put it in for 113, with the proper code, the DOH standardized code, or you can simply inactivate this record and save it, and then go in and add in your new health condition record. So you have two options there. This will not allow you to delete the record or delete the A1 code. A1 will always be on this student. It is what is in there. It was on his record. But if we update these health conditions to the proper ones, it's going to help you manage those assessments a little easier. And it'll allow us to inactivate that A1 allergy so then it doesn't populate on our list anymore. So then it's all inactivated. You can go through next year when you're putting in codes for, health conditions. It won't even populate on your list for conditions to even select. So it doesn't delete, it doesn't go away, but at least it helps you manage the records further. So for those records that have those where we cannot merge them and cannot delete them, the only option is to manage them at the student level with putting in a new record. Now, if we're looking at this, if we go back to Office, I'm going to go back to my report and we're going to run this for ADHD as well real quick. That was that health condition report. We added that template. So this is for our ADHD. It is the same concept. I'm going to run through this one really quick. Ranges, again, I'm leaving wide open. Not changing anything. I'm going to hit that print student because we only want that with the health conditions. Critical alerts will be both. I'm taking out that school year, including my health conditions. I'm unchecking this one, clicking my condition button to then select the codes that I want to review, which is just my separated AD and ADHD code. I'm hitting OK. I want to make sure I see all of my record specific and critical alerts. And then I'm running and saving in print. So when I look at that, we're going to see that exact same thing come up. So here's the report for our ADD and ADHD. And the reason I wanted to point this one out is this one, luckily, is fairly simple. A lot of districts, if you do have them split out, we can automatically tell this is going to be a merge because ADD and ADHD are now just one area. There's no way to, or no reason to differentiate. So this would be a great opportunity to merge these codes. I still run it and look at it in case there's any additional notes, anything that needs to draw my eyes to. And then I also look at it just to basically, what data am I changing? If I'm going to run this merge process, I want to know who it's affecting. So even though this is a great candidate, perfect for merging, still, what is my database going to change? I have a couple kids here, 11th grade, 9th grade, and I do have a kiddo here that's graduated. So it is going to change the record on this graduated kid from an ADD code to ADD, ADHD. Okay. The status again is active because this code is active, not that the kid is active, but the code specifically is active. Any questions on looking at those reports? Still doing good? Okay. So with this, we have identified codes that we need to maybe delete, codes that we need to merge. We looked at these ADD and ADHD codes, which these were both merge. Okay. Now you can choose to use this Excel document, again, however you choose. When I look at this report and I know I'm going to merge these, I take it a little step further where I put yes, I'm going to merge these, but what code do I need to merge them to? So I can come down and find my, I think it was NE. Oh, it's a good thing I checked. It's NB. I'm going to merge all those into my NB status. So I'm actually going to change this to NB. This is the code I know I need to use to merge them. Same with this. I'm going to merge this A3. When I looked at that report was for insect. I'm going to find my insect code. Looks like it's EE. So now I have some kind of tracking. I'm doing my investigation, I'm writing it down, I'm tracking it. So now how do we go manage these? So I'm going to close out of my print queue here. Back in our office, back in our health records, and in our setup, we have a merge code tab. Now, this is the thing where your securities might come into play. If you do not see a merge code option under your setup, that's a security feature. So you'd want to reach out to those security admins and talk to them about this process. If your security admins ever have any struggles with securities, they're more than welcome to reach out to us and we can help them get those pathways. Unfortunately, my team cannot grant you access. It all has to go through your administration for that approval. So we're going to take a look at our merge code. And the great thing about this merge code is you can do it for many tables, many different tables. So if you're trying to crunch through, we really focus in on our Washington code, so our DOH, because those are the ones we're really trying to standardize. Those are the ones that you're using for your assessment reports that you tend, to need a little help on. These run a lot of those health conditions, very important for those student records. So they are actually broken out down here at the bottom under their own separate tab. And we're simply just going to hit our health conditions. Now, this is a very, very powerful utility. So you always want to run your health condition reports first. I cannot stress it enough. Once you merge it, there is no going back. It is what it is. Well, I guess you can go back, but that's per student individually voiding records and putting them back in. So it can be a nightmare. So take it slow, crunch the data, and then definitely reach out if you need any help with it. This code table lists it out where the code to eliminate. So it's going to give you all of these are the same codes we saw in our health code table. And this will be the code you're trying to eliminate. Gives you the description. And then what do you want to merge this code with? So A1, we know we were not merging anything. Those are ones I have to actually go out to the student records and update to the appropriate code. A2, there was nothing attached to A2. This one, we're going to try to delete him out of the system. It wasn't being used. A3 was our merging ability. That one was marked to that insect. So we can do our allergy. And again, in this code table, you can still search through and look. So we know that insect allergy is EE. We're just going to put EE. So it knows that, hey, you're going to take this code, we're going to get rid of this code, and it's going to move all of the records into this EE allergy for insect. I'm going to come down, same with my ADD codes. Oh, it looks like cleft lip and cleft lip palate. That might be one I want to investigate too, to see if the DOH codes are separate or if that is all just one. But here's our ADD, so that was NB. So I can use that Excel sheet to do this all in one quick. That's why I say you want to be very careful. If you're more comfortable with just crunching allergy, looking at the report, going in, merging, getting that one done, and then starting again, you're more than welcome to do that. If you're tracking outside and you're keeping really good notes, on that Excel file, then you can actually continue down the list and continue to merge if necessary. So once I've determined that these are good to go, I can simply just hit run. It's going to give you a warning. And we know, hey, it's going to make those changes. I'm just going to go hit OK, and it's going to run that utility. So all those records that were currently there. So there's no voided record on the student profile. There's nothing like that. It just simply merges the codes. It's going to give you a little report. It will give you the alpha keys, so the student specifically that's being changed. So here was that A3 code. So if I went and looked at that kiddo again, we're going to see that A3 is now EE. And then same with these kiddos for those ADD. So we had 3 records on there, and they're all changing to the NB. So if you run this improperly, you will get a report. Like I said, there's no undo, but you will get a report where you can then go manually update them. So it is kind of helpful if for some reason, but please, please try to keep notes and really investigate. And that's why it's very important we do this at the school nurse level. We really highly recommend, because this is your data and you guys know what's going on with those kiddos. So please work together and look at those very carefully. All right, and it shuts down. So after that, it just completely closes out that merge, and you'd have to go back in to then merge any additional. So now we can see, if I were to say enter this merge again, that my A3 is now gone, and so is my ADD. Those are completely wiped off of my code table. I'm gonna hit back. I can try to run that report again for you guys so you can see that they're gone. But like I said, it usually takes a little while to run. But let me see if I can just have it run in the background so then you can kind of see. And I didn't save any of these, so you're going to watch it one more time. DHT. I'm going to quickly put in these just so we can get them up on the screen. Well, and I'll tell you, once we click this condition code, you won't even have the opportunity to select the code. See how ADD? It's completely gone. No need to run the report again. Those are all merged. They're all gone. Those are not available anymore. So it doesn't even give you the opportunity to go back. That's why it's important to look at those reports, make your notes, have that information. So if you want to do some spot checking in the background. So let's spot check it really quick. I'm going to go to my print queue. Here's my ADHD codes that we were merging. You pull this across for you. So this is my old report that I used to merge. I'm going to grab this top kiddo so we can go out to a student profile and double check. Back. Sorry for the clicking. There's a lot of clicking in some of these areas. All right, let's put this kiddo in here. So now here's that ADHD. See, it's combined together. If I hit edit here, just so we can see it a little more, the code that's now on that kiddo is NB. So no void record, no nothing, anything like that, but it just updates the code. So this merge process is not available in cumulative. Frankly, I don't see it coming into cumulative. Cumulative does have a few other options to be able to clean up the code table. Merge is one of the ones that we really like to point out to you guys right off the bat, because it can be very helpful if you're using a lot of district codes. So real quick, we're going to go back to our office, health records, setup and codes. So I'm going to look at my code table one last time. We're looking at our health condition codes, that HE. So this is the actual table, not the merge. We know that our A3 is gone and our ADD. This A2, we had no records attached to it. We put it in, we were going to use it as a district defined code. We ended up not using it. What is the best way to handle this one? Is simply just hit delete. It's going to ask you if you're sure, and you can click yes. I have some districts that just click every code and hit delete. Because if it's attached to something, it's not going to go anywhere. So it's kind of a quick way to kind of filter out all the codes that you don't need or haven't been using. But I will tell you, you want to be careful with that, because if they are your standardized codes, you want to keep them. You don't want to necessarily delete them. So then if you ever need them, they are readily available at your fingertips rather than having to go enter the code. So every district handles it a little bit differently, but do know if you hit that delete button, if it does disappear, you are not removing any records whatsoever. It literally was just not attached to anything. The other management piece is actually inactivating the code. We know this allergy 1 should be an active code. We do not want to use it any longer. The records that are out there, we want to Of course, like you said, you're going to see it on the student profile, but we want to make sure that we never select this A1 code in the future. You simply highlight it, you can hit edit, and all you have to do is hit inactive and save. If you inactivate a code, you're still going to be able to get these kiddos up on your district assessment. You're still going to be able to get these records and reporting. You just have to pay very close attention to your ranges. What am I trying to pull? It can be a little frustrating. That's why we always recommend, if you're inactivating a record, why are you inactivating that A1? Who was attached to it? And then if they are a current student, go update their record to the appropriate code. Then you don't have to worry about reporting. It all just flows consistently. Now, most of you probably at the beginning of the year already looked at these code tables. I know in the Wenatchee region, we kind of go through this at our back to school health welcome. But if for some reason you're going through those DOH codes and you are missing a code, here in this same table is where you can simply add one. So the great thing about those DOH codes is they do a really great, they highlight it if it's a new code. If there's any changes, you can quickly look at these Excel documents and you can see if there's any new codes available. So if you are trying to manage some of those and you are missing one, so here is that SMS, you can simply just come in here and add your new code. So this one is not in my database. So I'm going to keep it exactly. You are going to hit a character limit on the short description, as I'm sure you guys are all aware. Try to keep your long descriptions to fit as best you can. We're trying to make everything very consistent, but if you hit that character limit, you know, it's as far as we can go. We're going to hit active and you can simply just save the record. So let me pull up that code table again. And now that new one's in the database. So add and delete are very easy to work through. If you run into those merge process, please do not hesitate if you are nervous about it to let us know. We are more than happy to sit down and help you do those. And this will get you your management of SMS much cleaner, especially with that district assessment report. I will let you know if anybody out there is in cumulative, hopefully they could speak to it too. The district assessment report is a very nice feature in cumulative. It is something, those report templates that you guys are managing that can kind of be a pain, that is completely removed out of cumulative. So the process inside the cumulative software is much easier. So it's something to look forward to. And if you have the opportunity, we do run cumulative health trainings. They are available out in PD Enroller. If you're interested in just kind of getting your eyes on the software and looking at some of that, you guys are always more than welcome to attend. All right, with that said, that is my whole spiel, but I do know we had a few questions that were emailed in. So I'm going to address those. And then if we have any additional questions, I'd be more than happy to look at those as well. So one of the questions I had come in said, what do nurses need to do with care plans to prepare for migration? And that is a great question. Care plans is a newer feature in cumulative that Skyward has been working to kind of get up and moving. Care plans are available in cumulative. As far as SMS, making sure that you actually have care plans up to date. So everything will migrate over. If you have care plans currently added to your system, whether you're using the SMS, IHPs, or EAPs, or if you're scanning in PDF documents, all of that does come over into cumulative and for all your active students in prior years. So if you have a student that's in 12th grade who's had an IHP for 12 years, all of those are going to come over. So no need to worry there. Management is really just, if I have a new one this year, making sure the old one's inactivated and my new one is current. So that's the only kind of management you really need. Are there templates in cumulative that nurses can use? So in cumulative, there are no templates pre-built. However, we have been working very hand in hand with a lot of nurses trying to get templates available We do have a slew of them out there, but I will tell you, your migration analyst will also work hand in hand with you if you have any district specific documents, and they will do their best to try to get what you're currently using in the software. So it is interesting to learn. Care plans can be a little, I wouldn't say difficult. They're fairly easy to build, but they're a little time consuming. So we're going to do the best we can to get those templates in the system for you, and then even show you how to update them if need be. So nothing's preloaded, but we are getting quite a database of templates out there that other districts have put together. And then here at the ESD, we have built ourselves. Will nurses be able to access care plans from previous years? So yes, I think I got that in the first one. You will be able to go back and look at those. They will come up as PDF attachments. They're not going to be editable documents, but you will be able to see all of that prior data. Are there recommendation actions to ensure nurses can access those care plans and templates previous? So they will come over to cumulative. The good thing is you will also have access to your SMS database. So your SMS database, once you move to cumulative, doesn't go anywhere. It still stays there. It locks down to read-only access. And so if for some reason you really needed something out of that database, we would still be able to get into it and be able to retrieve that data for you, or even work with you on getting access so you could retrieve it. We do limit that very much because once SMS is done, we don't like to go back into it. We want to leave that as a full picture. So you wouldn't be able to make any changes or edits to it, but we'd still be able to retrieve that data. Your migration analyst will also show you a couple reports you can print, so you can have them off to the side. So your IHP reports, there is actually a great report out there under Office and Health Records and Reports that has student individual health plans. This will print all the records in your database and also all their care plans. It'll print all of them for you and give you PDFs. So we usually do recommend that you print those just so you have them outside the software in the migration process. All right, let's see here. Is there any questions that I missed in the chat? Looks like new DOH health code list. It looks like Kathy was able to put that in the chat for us. Perfect. So I know that was kind of a lot kind of thrown at you guys. Do you guys have any other questions you would like to ask me or anything else you'd like to see in the software? Everybody letting their coffee still kick in?
So Stacy,
Yes.
this is Kathy. Thank you so much. It's so helpful to have you come on and explain this. Just to clarify, those student care plans that have been built in Skyward, in the Skyward templates, is it correct to state that they will not pull across into cumulative when that transition occurs?
Correct. The templates themselves do not. So yeah, the templates themselves do have to be rebuilt into the cumulative software. The plans themselves will come through on the students as attachments. So you'll still see all the data, but you will not be able to edit it because they don't come over.
Okay, thank you.
So, and we've worked hand in hand with the districts that are migrating. We try to look at their high ticket items. I mean, there's a lot that goes into migration, so we may not be able to rebuild absolutely everything, but we really try to take a look at those high ticket items. Like if you're, allergies and severe anaphylaxis, things like that. We try to look at what you're currently using and build it so you have it readily available. We do also have, working with the migration realm and migrating, we migrated like 12 districts this year across 3 regions. So even using some of the templates that we've helped others, we've been able to upload those into current migrating districts for use as well. So there are a lot of available options. It's if you have very district specific plans that you're using, And that's where you would work with your migration analyst to kind of say, hey, like, I really can't live without this. This is very important. I need this. And we can help you or build it.
Stacy, do you have recommendations for those who are going to be preparing for migration this year for the Knowledge Hub coursework?
There are a few Knowledge Hub courses out there. Let's see here. I don't know what they're titled off the top of my head, but I believe there's 3 or 4 of them. We do always recommend that everybody takes our general nav course, which is just a basic overview of the cumulative software. So the general nav would take them through kind of how this main welcome screen comes into cumulative. So if you haven't seen cumulative, it'll take you into this home screen that's very customizable. And general nav will take you through all of this. Student fundamentals will take you through student profile and kind of getting used to how that is laid out in the cumulative software. And then there is a district assessment for your annual assessments. There is a PDC on that walks you through how that works in cumulative. And then just general health knowledge, entering health office visits, things like that. And Kathy, I could definitely get you a list you could share with your users.
Oh, thank you. And there's a question in there from Sarah in the chat about what about notes or office visits? Do those merge over to cumulative?
So notes do. Secured notes are coming up, and I believe I'm trying to think, because notes, I'm trying to remember the secured notes because we just had an update on that. All health notes are coming across. Secured notes are as well. It's one thing we are trying to focus on for security purposes. So when we work with your district to set up securities, paying attention to who would have access to those secured notes. Where in SMS, secured notes are based per user, where in cumulative, it's super user. So if you're a super user, you'd be able to see those secured notes. So we're working very closely with your security admins to make sure that those secured notes stay secure. But they would, all those notes come over. I think the only notes that aren't currently coming over in cumulative are your guidance notes. If any of you work with guidance counselor, secured notes and guidance is not currently coming over in cumulative. But it's a work in progress. We're getting that moving too. So, and just like with anything with notes, be careful with how you're putting them in, review. You can run those reports to actually see the notes that you have specifically written, and never write anything that you wouldn't want the whole world to see anyways. So always be careful, even though you are, confidential information with students, still just be careful with what you're entering into those note areas. All right. Anything else that I can address for you? I do know the migration can seem like it's kind of under a cloak. We're very excited to talk about it. So if you ever have any questions on how that migration works, districts, how that process starts is our actually top directors actually reach out to superintendents and kind of work with them. It's not necessarily yes, I want to go to cumulative. It's what your district is currently utilizing and ensuring that those features are available in cumulative. We would never want to migrate over somebody and those features were not available for them to use. So that goes into a lot of the play. What is available in cumulative? What are you currently using in SMS? And then those conversations happen at the upper top level. If you do have any questions about when you are migrating, you can always reach out to your superintendent. If they don't know, they actually can reach out to us. We kind of have a projected migration for the next couple years. However, there's a lot of things that come into play. So unfortunately, I can't really tell you where anybody's going to be on the schedule at this point. But if you ever have that question, your superintendent or business manager would be your best one to talk to. All right, well, if there's no other questions, it was such a pleasure to be here with you guys today. Please do not be shy. If you have any questions software related, oops, it jumped me out of my slideshow here. You are more than welcome to email student@gcr.org. We can't necessarily help you with what those codes, particularly mean. That would, you want to reach out to your Nurses Corp, but how to actually utilize the software, or even what the best reports are. Don't be shy, reach out to us. Any of us, any 16 of us, would be more than happy to jump on a Zoom and help you look at your specific data.
Thank you so much, Stacy. I'm going to put Kathy already put the email in the chat for us. Fabulous. We really appreciate you being with us and going through that information for us. That'll be really helpful for us to get prepared for the coming months and migration and assessments. So we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Again,
having me.
that if you need some support, the email is in the chat if you want to utilize that to connect with someone on Stacy's team. Again, thank you so much. So it is 10 o'clock and we want to turn the time over to Dr. Wallace, who is joining us for our public health update with the snowy mountains behind him. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Wallace. It's a great screen behind you. We appreciate the snow.
Yeah, loving the snow. I hope other people have found opportunity to play in it. Happy New Year, everybody. It's good to see you. I'm sorry I missed a meeting in December. I was interviewing students to come out and work in Okanagan County when they finish their training. So hopefully that yields more healthcare numbers that all of us will benefit from. Let's see, share a screen here. I don't have a whole lot. I'd love to hear from you guys though. And let me remember how to do it on this platform. Are you guys able to see the screen? Cool. So I thought I'd talk about respiratory illnesses. I'd love to hear from you guys about respiratory illnesses and what you are seeing, because there's a little bit of hope in what I can share with local surveillance and what we get regionally from the state as well. Hit on avian influenza, because I talked about that in November, and still a lot of questions, maybe more with recent death that was reported. You guys are unfortunately intimate with opioid overdoses, but that's going to be a ongoing thing for us and what we're working on with partners. So I wanted to share a little bit about that. As far as respiratory illness goes, I think Washington's seen a little bit less than the rest of the country. This is one map that has activity in Washington low in comparison to other Western states, and certainly compared to the Northeast. I'd love to see that continue as we work through the next 2 months. If you look at regional data, it's very similar to state level data, where for influenza, COVID, and RSV for the past 2 weeks, emergency room visits have been stable or declined. I'm curious if this week, these are reported on Wednesday, so we'll get one more week of data tomorrow. But a third week at or below that peak level in late December would be a little more reassuring that we've seen the most of our respiratory illnesses for the season. I'd love to hear from you guys what you're seeing. Did you see more at the beginning of January than you are now? Did you see more before the holiday break than you're seeing right now? We really appreciate the absenteeism reports from schools when you hit 10% or more. Those reports really help us understand, how to support you guys in response, or, and maybe more, even as important, I would say, inform our communications with local healthcare partners. We do take into account report for staff absenteeism that healthcare partners share And then a lot of our healthcare partners have generated their own measures, whether it's the percent of all the influenza and COVID and RSV tests that they perform that are positive, or their own internal emergency room visits and hospitalizations. They report to us, and we find that very helpful in sharing trends. And I will share that in Chelan, Douglas, Okanagan counties that I'm familiar with, the picture looks very similar to these regional numbers where we've seen 2 weeks of decline in activity.
Dr.
So,
Wallace,
yes.
Kathy has her hand raised, and then we have a
Oh,
couple
great.
of comments
Kathy,
for you
please
in
share with
the
us.
chat.
Oh,
Oh,
Dr.
good.
Wallace, I just wanted to say, if you could click on your little where it says slideshow, it'll be easier to read.
Oh, that's
directly on your
right.
slide.
Gosh, I'm always
Oh, perfect.
reminding other people to do that. So
Thank you
this is
so
that
much.
other map that I showed with the happy green up in the northwest corner there.
So we did have a couple of comments for you, Dr. Wallace.
I love seeing
Sarah
that.
from Wilson Creek said, when you were asking about trends that the nurses were seeing, Sarah said that that right before and after holiday break was the highest thus far
Mhm.
in her area.
Yep.
And then Liz over in Grand Coulee said before the holiday break, but now it's leveling off
Great.
for some high trends.
Great. That's what our hospitals are experiencing, that in the month that maybe started mid-December up through 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of activity, and there's a little bit less now than there was. Our long-term care facilities have reported some outbreaks. We've had a couple influenza outbreaks, a couple COVID outbreaks in long-term care facilities, but fewer now than a month ago. So thank you for sharing that. If anyone else has similar input to share, please do. I talked about avian influenza in November after we had gotten a lot of information from Benton Franklin about their big episode of a farm with 850,000 chickens affected by avian influenza and 11 workers who became positive. We've had no more positives, no person-to-person spread anywhere, but no more avian influenza cases in Washington since then. We continue to get reports of dairy farms throughout the U.S. and wild bird and poultry farms on the West Coast. So Washington and California continue to see poultry flocks that are involved. The winter months generally with poultry are not as severe as the migratory season. So the migratory birds oftentimes pass it to large flocks. And so when birds are not migrating, we don't see as much. But remain prepared, remain ready to follow cases that have been exposed and detect cases when they crop up. There was a death reported in Louisiana, which is the first avian influenza death since this outbreak began. And the person was older, more infirm. There's no evidence that there's a more virulent strain that's cropping up or that's mutated, and no increased risk of human to human spread in the strains that we're seeing right now. And then we are doing work all over North Central Washington around opioid overdoses, preventing them, responding to them, trying to empower and strengthen folks on the front lines that continue to see and report higher rates of overdoses. So in the graphic there, this all comes from an opioid overdose dashboard, Department of Health. You can see Okanagan and then Chelan and Grant counties have high levels of opioid overdose deaths. Note that this is 2022 data. Things have worsened since then. The state data includes 2022 and 2023, a little bit from 2024, but significantly lags. And so we're trying to create better reporting systems locally and get a lot of support from EMS in our hospitals, but are trying to beef that up, among other things. A large percentage of the deaths that we do see for injuries are because of opioid overdoses, and we are at or exceeding the percentages for ED visits, EMS calls across the state. Our strategies are oftentimes, we prefer to focus on prevention. So working with healthcare, working with communications to prevent misuse of opioid medications in the first place. And then trying to open up more doors to treatment and other recovery support services, as well as treatment of overdoses. So I know a lot of you have received naloxone, been trained in the use of naloxone. We continue to see that being a successful intervention, but a stopgap measure and recognition, especially by EMS, who are responding to calls, it seems, more with greater and greater frequency, that we really need to move farther upstream and prevent overdoses from happening and prevent opioid dependence in the first place, or treat it with appropriate recovery support systems. The prescribing practices, the access to medications for opioid use disorder, and our emergency response systems are strong. We can do a lot to support them and strengthen them, and use the successes that they've seen to improve access and build even better programs. But I think where we need to do better is in behavioral support, behavioral health support, social determinants of health support, recognizing the barriers individuals face in successful recovery and helping folks to overcome those barriers. And then more timely monitoring with surveillance systems, and work with primarily healthcare and EMS partners, so that we can track opioids in a more timely basis and respond. There have been reports that maybe there are more substance contamination. There might be stronger batches of fentanyl or carfentanil or xylazine out there. And we'd love to be able to respond when we see upticks in overdoses because of that, and be able to prepare people. We'd love for it not to come to that, but we want to get information out there to keep folks safe. And if you guys have experiences in those areas that you'd like to share, or things that we could build off of, good work that you're doing, I'd love to hear about that. But that's the end of my update. Love to
So, Dr. Wallace,
hear more from you all.
there was another statement in the chat about the illness and flu-like symptoms rate in Chelan. The Chelan School District
Oh, same
saw
thing going
some,
on in Chelan.
yeah,
Great, thank you.
saw higher before school break, and then after returning leveling off. But it sounds like there were a few individual COVID reports as well.
Okay.
From them.
Thanks for that.
And Kathy has her hand raised.
I have a question.
Hey, Kathy, thanks.
Hi, good to see you. I love your background.
Thank you.
Nice. I have a question about the ages. If we have very good data on the age of the folks who are you're seeing with overdose issues. I mean, I think I've seen it in the past, but I'd like to know how many are.
It's mostly adults. I don't have specific numbers. Mostly adults from 18 to 65. And we do have overdoses that occur in kids. And I know that we had 2 deaths that I'm waiting for full information to review in I believe high school students, if not middle school age students. So it's all deaths are tragic. And I think when it happens to our school age population, it's all the more tragic. I do think these deaths are preventable. And then there's a lot that we can do to better prevent the deaths And our really, our EMS made a strong statement in a meeting last week that we really need to get out ahead of this and upstream, rather than just relying on naloxone, because there's not enough naloxone in the world to treat what we're seeing and what we may see in the future if we can't get at some of the root causes of this.
Dr. Wallace, in the
Mhm.
chat, Shelley Story wrote that regarding
Yeah,
the
see that,
opioids,
Shelley. Thank you.
she said,
Yeah, we're seeing
sorry, I
that
was
so
going to read it
frequently
really
now.
quick.
Yeah. Do you want to read? Yeah, go ahead and read it. Sorry.
Sure. Regarding the opioids, I spoke with local LEEMS, and they are finding those that are overdosing on fentanyl right now are requiring up to 6 doses of Narcan to reverse the overdose.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so we're seeing reports like that. So reports that naloxone is not working as well as it was could suggest that there are stronger batches of fentanyl, or there's carfentanil out, or that xylazine is mixed in with it, because xylazine is not an opioid. It's an additive. It's a horse tranquilizer, and it serves to prolong the duration of the effect of fentanyl. And really, people are taking fentanyl to not withdraw. They're not taking fentanyl to get high. They're not having fun with it. We talk to people in the recovery community and active users. They're just trying to avoid the horrible effects of withdrawal. And it's deadly to do so. Right. But so if you combine fentanyl with xylazine, then you prolong that duration that the opioid receptors are satisfied and aren't screaming at you and making you sick. And so you can go longer because the half-life of fentanyl is so short. What happens, though, is that when you overdose, there's not an antidote or a reversal agent for the xylazine component. So it's taking more doses of naloxone, or naloxone is not effective in reversal. We're also seeing from coroner's reports that there are more often multiple substances detected in the bodies of individuals that have died from overdose, suggesting either that people are taking a cocktail, or that methamphetamine, cocaine, even marijuana is laced with fentanyl now. And so when they see multiple substances, there's the concern that fentanyl is being cut into the supply of other drugs, and people are unknowingly taking fentanyl and dying because of it.
Are there any resources you all might recommend for presenting to school staff or students regarding opioids and fentanyl at this point in time? I think I could take what we are learning in some of these updates and prepare some information to share, but I was
Yeah,
wondering if there's
Danica.
anything
Yes.
specific.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone has others. I know a lot of folks are working on curricula. And I will say that I would not call on me. I presented to a 9th grade health class about a month ago on opioids, and man, I am not cut out to be a teacher. I thought it would be a lively conversation. It was right after school. It was right after lunch, and so the kids were like milling in, and they were so happy and bubbly, and I thought we'd have a great conversation. As soon as I opened my mouth, like heads went down, this like blank stare fell across their faces, and I couldn't maintain their attention. So I will continue to try, and I'd be happy to come and talk, but let's look for other resources. Who's had some success there?
I just wanted to share that NASN has had curriculum available for a while on talking with students about naloxone, as well as staff, and DOH has some materials as well that we've used and tapped into. And certainly it's been helpful to have folks from the health districts come and talk to directly with staff at school districts. They really respond well to having someone from the health district come and speak with them, as well as family health centers. It's also been really helpful.
Has anyone had an experience of our recovery coaches or folks with experience with opioid dependence come and talk to kids?
I don't see anything popping up on the chat on that, but we do actually have Garth
Right.
from the Chelan Douglas Health District with us in here too. And Emily Gilmer said that she might talk to him about it, but Blanca Salgado said that Garth has come to talk to the migrant nurses on the subject as well.
Garth is fantastic. He's got a lot of experience, gaining a lot more experience. So I think this is something we can work on. Kathy, if you could share those NASN notes or information with me, I'd love to look at it.
You bet.
And maybe I
Thank
could create a better presentation. You guys could challenge me.
And we
try
could
again.
link you, and Garth has great materials, and Grant
Good.
County Health District has a opioid reduction program, so they have resources, and so does the Family Health Center opioid team in Okanagan County.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've all come in the past. They are very happy to go out to school districts and do presentations, and we could put together a resource list of all those different folks, if that would be helpful, so people would know
That'd be
who to
fantastic.
connect with.
Yeah, Garth is here. Thanks, Garth.
He
And
said
there's Mariah's
some,
information.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's Mariah Amber McCoy from Grant County put her information up there, and
Thanks,
Garth
Amber.
Garth Donald, sorry, replied in the chat as well. So. All right.
All right.
Well, we
Well,
will.
thanks, you guys. Thanks for the work that you guys do. I hope 2025 is fabulous. And if there are any opportunities to make it even more fabulous, let me know.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace.
Yeah. You guys
Thank
have
you.
a good
We really
day.
appreciate you. Thank you for coming. And shout out to all of our folks from the health districts that are with us today too. Thanks for responding and helping us out with this as well. So we have some homework now to put together that resource list for you as well. So we'll get on that. But we do have some time for Kathy to present to us our school nurse update. We are running a little ahead of schedule, but hopefully that'll give us some extra time for questions at the end. So go ahead, Kathy. Thank you.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you so much, Lena. I'm just so excited to see all of you this morning and want to wish you a very, very happy new year. And here we go into spring. And wasn't it timely to have Stacy come on and talk about district assessments, because we're going to be talking about district assessments this morning, and also at some presentations this week to help people get started with that process. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my slides here. So if you guys could help me know when you see my slides. Anybody at all? Anybody see them? Oh, thank you so much. Okay. All right. So I get a little limited here in what I can see. So Elena, if you and Sheila could monitor the chat, if people have questions, I'd love to answer any questions you have. But let's go ahead and get started today so we can get through as much as we can in terms of updates. So first of all, here we are in January, we're halfway through. So I just wanted to make sure people were aware that February is going to be coming up, and it's National Dental Health Month for children. And so I wanted to share this picture of this lovely bulletin board. This is not new. Susan Sloan created this bulletin board in 2023. So just to give people an idea, if you haven't done bulletin boards before for your students, of ideas for you to put out, and Susan even put out free toothpaste and toothbrushes as she collected, trying to help get kids into that dental health mood. So thank you, Susan, for that. And we'd love to get your pictures. So if any of you are doing things like this and you are interested in sharing your photos or willing to do so, please email them and we'll make sure that we get them used in different types of programs. So let's focus first of all on some North Central ESD updates. So the first thing to cover is certainly the district assessment. We're into January, and so it's time to prep for this work. So if you're not familiar with district assessments, we're going to be doing some presentations to help people get started with this, to explain why do we do district assessments, what is the data for, why do we collect it, a little bit about our data from last year. We're going to cover this morning and then later when we do presentations. But here are some things just to help you get started for this year. You are going to be getting an email today. If you're the only school nurse at your district, you'll receive it. If you are part of a team of school nurses and you have a team leader, then your team leader will be the person who receives the email. So just make sure it gets to the person who actually is going to be completing the district assessment so that they have an opportunity to review the instructions. Each year, we review the district assessment tool, and we do on occasion make some changes to the tool based often on the feedback that we get from nurses or the kind of data that we get. We sometimes need to look at what's on there and make some revisions. So please do review the instructions because we tried to make every change clear for folks. The district assessment is done in Excel, so you're going to get a link to the district assessment document, and you can download it and save it as your own, and then you can start filling it out as an Excel spreadsheet. And this is easier and much preferred. Please don't try to print it and then do it on paper. It doesn't print well off of the computer, and so sometimes when you print it and then send it to us, we can't read the information that's on there because it is blacked out. And so we ask that you please do complete them electronically in Excel. And then we often get asked for a worksheet, and I'll show you what the worksheet looks like. Lots of people still like to use it, and they use it, especially districts who have a lot of students, because they use it to kind of coordinate their data and keep track of what they are keep track of what they're looking at for some specific questions on the district assessment. Now, all of these tools are located in the Google Drive. So if you go into your Google Drive and you look for the folder called district assessments, then you will find these tools under the 24-25 school year, and you can also link to them here and it will take you directly to those. So for workshops, we've got 2 scheduled. One is today at 2:30 to 3:30. One is Thursday, same time, 2:30 to 3:30. If you have not done one of these before, we do encourage you to participate in one of these workshops because it will help you in the long run speed up your process and make it very understandable why you're doing what you're doing. The due date we're asking for is April 4th. So sometime before you go on spring break, we would like to get back your tool so that we can start going through the data and clarifying any questions that we have about what you've sent us. Okay, so just kind of looking at what we collect. So this is an overview of 23-24 data. And just to give you an idea, from last year, we had 274 districts participate in the district assessment process. So that represents about 938,000 plus students in Washington State. we look at the data that comes in on those, and by we, I mean the school nurse corps, nurse administrators go through all of this data. We look at it from a variety of levels. So we're looking at it from a district level, we're looking at it from an ESD level of what is happening within our individual regions across the state. And then we upload a lot of this data to this OSPI, where it can all be compiled into a state report. In some cases, some of the data that we're collecting is actually used by NASN. And so sometimes some of our data is also shared with NASN and goes into their Every Student Counts campaign. And so we are contributing at both a state and a national level to data collection. So for the state, last year, we looked at over 47,000 school nursing hours that were provided, 1,285 RNs. We're just looking at some of the data points. I just pulled some of the key things out that we look at in terms of data. So some of what we're looking at is what percentage, for example, of our school nurses have an ESA, what percentage of them are nationally certificated. We look at their highest unmet needs. And last year it was behavioral health assessments, health policies and procedures, immunization compliance. And then we look at what they consider, again, this is RN feedback. So we look at what they consider to be their lowest contributions to the district, and those are largely time-based because you can only focus on so many things. So when it comes to things that people are perhaps unable to participate in because they're not there often enough, then participation in IEPs and 504 planning and behavioral health assessments, again, were at the top of the list across the state. On the opposite side of this slide, I've got student information. So what are we looking at in terms of students and what's happening with students in Washington State? Well, we're looking at acuity levels. So this gives you an idea of how many A's, B's, C's, and D's we have categorized in our schools in this data sampling. Condition totals, we had over 42,000 different conditions that we could see. Life-threatening health conditions, how many did we have? 48,000 plus in our school districts. Then how many vision referrals, how many hearing referrals, number of medications, number of medications administered. And then we saw across the state, we still had 30 districts even last year who had no stock naloxone, and we had 187 school districts that had no stock epi. So some of the reasons we look at this kind of data is we look to see what school districts, for example, might be having difficulty with obtaining stock naloxone. Where are those districts in Washington State that we can target to help them get additional naloxone? Which districts were having a hard time getting orders for stock epi when they wanted it? And over the years, this kind of data has really been helpful, particularly this year and last year, as we've looked at being able to provide stock epi orders. So the data that we're collecting, we're really using to create change within the school system to benefit students. So that's a state level. When we look at our own region, so North Central ESD, we're Chelan, Douglas, Okanagan, and Grant counties, we had 30 districts participate in this. So that's about like 99% of our districts all completed a district assessment. So representing about 41,000 students across our region. And this gives you some information about our RNs. Again, on the left, we're looking at things that highest unmet needs and lowest contributions. They felt that they were able to make really pretty much mirror the same issues across the state. Again, a lot of these are time-based issues. And then on the right-hand side, it starts looking at, okay, for student-specific conditions, life-threatening conditions, what did our numbers look like? Now, interestingly, and so happy to share that we did not have any schools in our district that did not have stock naloxone. All of our school districts had stock naloxone, and only 18 out of our 30 at that point did not have stock epi. And again, a lot of that was due to difficulty in obtaining orders at the beginning of the year last year. So we, again, looking at this information to help you and to help your districts achieve the RCWs or other guidelines. So if you would like more information, we have more information to share at our presentations that we're going to be doing. We're going to break down the district assessment, talk about each of the sections, common errors that occur in reporting, and how the reporting process works. So we'll do that this afternoon, do one Thursday. We will record a session if you're unable to go to either of those, but hopefully one of those dates and times will work for you. I do want to, regarding positions in our region, I want to let you know Paterra School District has a new school nurse. So Christina Sloan has joined the Paterra School District. She'll be there 20 hours per week. So we welcome Christina. And the first thing I asked Christina was, is she related to Susan? But no, they are no relation. So a different family. But anyway, we wanted to welcome Christina. My position is still going to be posted, so we'll get information about that when that is available to you. And lastly, if you're going to be leaving your position, this is kind of a time when people start thinking about, you know, am I coming back to my position next year at my school district? If you are thinking about not returning to your school next year for some reason, please let us know. Please contact our office. First of all, we want to help you. So if you're struggling and you feel like you don't want to come back because you feel like you're struggling with your position, then please let us help you. If you have a mentor you're working with, please reach out to your mentor, talk to that person about any struggles that you might be having and how you might address those in a positive way so that you can remain in your position and feel like you are successful in it. We don't like to see turnover happening. Whenever possible, we like people to be happy in their jobs and want to stay. However, people do move. People at life's change. But the sooner we know there's going to be an opening, the better. So that we can start promoting finding a new person to fill your spot. Okay, so some OSPI and Washington State updates. Well, we just started the legislative session, so that's always exciting. So leg session is underway. Today's the 21st, so it's day 9 already of the leg session, and we've got 96 days left to go. So lots of work to do. If you are not familiar with the legislative session, there's a number of links here for you to click on that'll take you to find out what's happening with the leg session. If you're not familiar with how a bill becomes law, click and find out. We want you to be familiar with these different processes because they really do impact your day-to-day work in your school setting. As people make decisions in the legislature, we want to make sure that you have a voice in those changes. And the legislatures are not healthcare providers, and they don't work in the schools. So they love to hear from you, and they love to hear your comments, for example, on potential bills, and to share your feedback. You also can log into TVW. So if you're not familiar with TVW, it's our legislative TV station, so to speak, so you can watch the leg session in process, and you can watch bills as they are discussed and as decisions are being made. So you can bookmark that and click into it to see different schedules. And as we know dates and times for different presentations, we'll be sharing those. So if there's something particular you're looking for, you can log in and watch. So some bills of interest for school nurses. These are things that we're looking at that, none of this is, in the approval process yet. These are all just bills that somebody has said, hey, here's a good idea. We'd really like to do this. What do you all think? They write a bill, they submit it, and then we see where it goes from there, and what kind of language changes might need to be recommended for a bill, or is this a bill that there's going to be a lot of support for? For our interest, there is Senate Bill 5720, which is this is a best bill. So this is a mentoring bill for that is going to be highlighting the need for best mentoring for school nurses. So the bill is already dropped. It dropped in a draft form. We're currently working on revising the language to that bill to make it more, I think, palatable to the legislature, in hopes that that will get passed. But it is really just it is a bill that highlights the need for school nurses, novice school nurses, to have a best mentor in their as they begin their journey into school nursing. As Senate Bill 5240 addresses anaphylaxis and unassigned epi. So the language in this bill, again, is still in a draft form, but it is looking at how might epi be administered by folks even when it is unassigned. And that would be by unlicensed people who have been trained to do so. You know, there have been restrictions on who can administer unassigned epi in a school setting. And so this is looking at broadening the language around that. And again, it's in a draft, but you're welcome to go out and click on the current language in these bills so that you can see what the current language is. And then if you have recommendations, we do have a snow ledge team leader, and her address is going to be posted here in a little bit. So Senate Bill 5098 is looking at firearm restrictions. It's on here because of interest, because it does address, you know, not having firearms on playgrounds, for example, would be one area. Senate Bill 5271 was going to be looking at a requirement for at least one ESA certificated school nurse in all Class 1 districts. I'm not sure if that one is getting a lot of traction, but it was a Senate bill that was, it already got dropped, and so it's sitting out there and available to review. House bills. So House bills, we've got 1038 is on prohibiting puberty blocking medications, cross-sex hormones, and gender transition surgeries. House Bill 1231 is going to be looking at late start for schools. House Bill 1122 is a cell phone ban during the school day. So all of these really address something in the school setting. So we just encourage you to take a look and see what is happening at the legislative level. Priorities for WSNA. So we've got, you know, from a school nursing perspective, we do have groups who are kind of in our supports for us, and what WSNA is one of them. And they are certainly looking at how to promote, for example, the Best Mentor Program for novice school nurses. So we really appreciate their support. And this is just a list of the things that they are really looking at in terms of providing support for, and there's links on here so you can read about each of these House bills or Senate bills, or at least get a description of the bill in its current language. So Lobby Day is coming up. Lobby Day is February 4th, and it's an opportunity for school nurses to go to Olympia and talk with, it's for any nurse really to go and talk with their legislatures about school nursing needs and nursing in general. It is already closed as far as registration goes, so it's not an option at this point to register, but you certainly can talk to Taylor Mason. Taylor is our snow legislative chair. And so if you have questions about Ledge Day, please feel free to reach out to Taylor and talk to her about that. Washington Board of Nursing is another group who provides support for school nursing and looks at our priorities and, you know, what might they be able to support with. And this is just a poster that they created of their ledge priorities for this school year. Probably the ones that would have the most impact on school nursing would be enhancing the nursing workforce. So they're looking at things about, you know, onboarding nursing, what does that look like, how to focus on retention, you know, development, professional development, what those might look like from a nursing perspective. So that is going to be WABON's priorities for this year. Just as a quick review, we've talked about the Heart Safe Schools. This passed the legislature last year. It's House Bill 5790. And this was the bill that also encompassed the AED grants. So just as a quick update for that, we have had several grant applications have come in. So 40 have come in from across the state asking for AEDs. And several districts are asking for more than one. So from those 40 applications, we have 428 requests for AEDs. I know not all of them are going to be able to be filled. I don't think that might be over the budget, but the OSPI is looking at those applications at this point. You can see you still have time. So if your district is in need of an AED and has not applied, please please do so. You can find the information about the grants is posted on that EGMS system, and your school district does have an EGMS administrator. And if you don't know who yours is at your district and you want to apply for this AED grant, then you can click on this link on the slides and you'll pull up a list of all the administrators at the districts. And then you can contact that person. You can also find on the Google Drive, there's a little image over here. So on the Google Drive under toolkits, you'll find under the CPR AED file a folder called Cardiac Emergency Response Plan, and it will have information for those districts who need help putting together a cardiac emergency response plan for their school district. Another thing I want to just point out is that, we've talked, I think, in the past years about Medicaid reimbursement and some of the issues around that have made Medicaid reimbursement very challenging for school districts, particularly smaller school districts. It's been described as being painful. The process is painful. The process is time consuming. The effort has not been worth the amount of funding that is been received from Medicaid. And I think that the feedback has gotten to Healthcare Authority. They have been working for probably at least the past year now with a group called For Health Consulting. And they are really trying to improve the process for Medicaid reimbursement for school districts, because a lot of healthcare gets provided in the school setting, and the school nurses and the health services program are not receiving the funding that is really available to them as a result of that. And so For Health Consulting, in collaboration with Healthcare Authority, has been holding a series of what they call listening sessions, where they are meeting with groups of folks from the school districts and from ESDs to collect all of this feedback from them about how they are struggling, if they are. Lena, could you do me a favor and bring me my cord out of my purple bag, please? Thank you, I appreciate that. So assessment wise, one of the things that I want to point out is that there are mechanisms for you to obtain Medicaid funding. And while they are trying to improve the processes, these are the three mechanisms that are in place right now. So one is behavioral health counseling, the other, and these are just methods. I just posted the ones, thank you very much, for behavioral health counseling right now, but I just wanted to make sure that you are aware that you have more options than you might think. There's really three main ways to do this. You can do, in the reimbursement options are school-based health services programs. The other option is managed care plans. And the third option is what's called Medicaid Administrative Claiming Program, or MAC. It's often referred to as a MAC program. So just as a quick overview of this, the MAC program is the simplest and least I guess work required to make it work for your district. And so that does involve some random moment time studies, which are not difficult to do, and they're very infrequent. So and you will get some reimbursement for that. If you have not attended one of these listening sessions, I would encourage you to do so. If you are interested, if you think that your district might be interested in it, here are some upcoming feedback sessions. You're welcome to come to any of them, really. They did have one specific to school nurses a few weeks ago, and we had several people attend that session, but there are others, and you're welcome to listen in on any of these. They're essentially a listening session where they're going to present information to you, and then you can provide feedback to them via chat. So it's a very simple way to provide them with feedback. I particularly want to make sure you see the one on 2/6. So February 6th, the listening session is really intended for like your principals, your superintendent, your business office personnel, because it's an opportunity for them to give feedback to this For Health group and Healthcare Authority, and to talk to them about these options. If you have not had a chance to attend a listening session, or you just want to provide feedback, here's the link to the program recommendation email. Here's a link if you want to talk about MAC claiming program enrollment. There's a link for you here on the screen as well, and you'll have access to these PowerPoint slides in the Google Drive, and you can link to them there. Okay, changing gear a little bit. So wanted to give you a quick update from Washington State Department of Health. We talked already in the past about their immunization survey that they plan to do this spring, and they're getting ready to do that. You should see, we're just in the process right now of reviewing the drafts to the surveys. So already there have been some improvements to their process. Originally, they had talked about sending 2 surveys out to every district with 2 different purposes, collecting 2 different types of data. So at this point, those have all been merged, and so there'll just be one tool that's coming out to collect this information. We're just going to finalize that within the next week or so and look for it to come out to you in late February. So it's going to be distributed to you as well as to the superintendent at the district. And what you'll know when you get it, we'll send out a notice that it's coming and that you should have received it, and to make sure that it doesn't end up in the junk email box or something, so it doesn't get lost. From the time you get it, you'll have 2 weeks to do it. And remember, this is a survey that's looking at practices. So it's really going to be talking about what practices have worked for you, what practices have worked for your district in regards to completing immunizations, to supporting immunization compliance with families and students. You know, what processes have been effective, and then what things have not been effective. So they're going to be looking for a lot of feedback from the school districts about how could they make improvements to the immunization program in Washington. We also talked in the past month about the changes that needed to be made to polio vaccine documentation in WAIIS. So just as an update, that conversion has been now completed. So Department of Health has gone in to every WAIIS record, and they have updated whether or not that person's polio vaccines actually have met the current guidelines. So you could end up seeing that you might have some students down the road that you're looking at who look like they say now they are out of compliance. And that would be correct. They need to complete their polio vaccine requirement. Now, there's a link here to this document, which will have even more detail about this, but just wanted to give you a heads up that is all complete, so you might notice changes in your records. If you go in to add anybody or change anybody's, just make sure that you're recording it correctly in the system so that it does not appear as a valid TB vaccine if it indeed is not. I wanted to point out a couple of things that I was new that Kathleen talked about, or the last time we talked to her DOH, and that is these to-do lists that school module team has created. So just as an FYI, there are some little tools out here. They're not printable. They're really just bullets on the web page, but they do provide a guideline for beginning of the year, during of the year, and end of the year. So as we get towards the end of the school year, you're going to want to look at your Washington State immunization web page and make sure that you're going kind of through that end of the year checklist in terms of getting yourself ready for the next school year in regards to immunizations. DOH is also putting together some new documents. So when those are done, we'll send them out. One is how to enter historical vaccinations in WAIIS. So how to enter them correctly, and then what are some of the common data entry errors. So just some things to be watching for. We'll let you know when those are available. And we talked about bleeding control last time. Again, this is coming up in 2026. We do have kits available. If you are interested in becoming a Stop the Bleed trainer, if you want to gain more skills in that, please talk with Lena. Lena is assessing needs right now to look at developing some courses to again get people back into that comfort level of being able to present the Stop the Bleed content to staff in their school districts. Another update from OSPI, this has to do with ESA renewals. So you probably all, if you have a current ESA, you would have gotten a notification from OSPI that they were changing this their practice or process for ESA renewals. So just as a reminder, that has taken place because we're into January now. So if you are set to renew, if you were, you will be late. If you are set to renew anytime, within the next 6 months in this year, and you haven't done it yet, you will be considered late. You would have had to renew your ESA, even though it's still good. I'll give you an example. My ESA certification does not expire until June, but I had to reapply for it last year in order for it to not be late. I reapplied for mine in December. It's still sitting in a pending box because I think there is a backlog of getting all of these applications reviewed. And so this process has kind of been spread out. One thing that they're not going to do, though, because there is always a late fee associated with late renewals on ESA certification requests, is that they're not going to charge any late fees to anybody because of this kind of timing change that's taking place. But do keep in mind that if you aren't renewed, it's January and you didn't submit a renewal for your certification and it's going to expire before January, then until you get it renewed, any training that you take over this next 6-month period would not count towards your, you'd not be able to use it in your documentation of professional development. A couple of temporary appointments announced by largely for Department of Health and Healthcare Authority. Of course, we've had a change in the governor, so now Governor Ferguson is in place. They are going to be doing a search for people to fill these positions. So one is the Secretary of the Department of Health and the other is the Acting Director for the Healthcare Authority. So we do have some new people temporarily in place, may end up being, filling those positions. But for now, they are considered temporary positions until a permanent person is found. Okay, some WABON updates. Just a reminder, we've talked about the requirement for health equity training. So if you went to the SNO conference last year in person in October, you would have completed your training. If you're not sure where to locate training, there's a link here that will take you to some approved programs that would all meet that need. WABON, of course, is very supportive of the standing order for stock epi, and we'll be looking at putting out some new guidelines, kind of waiting to see how the legislation comes out in regards to stock epi, but certainly they're always looking at, as laws change, how do they need to change their own, frequently asked questions and what do they need to put out in terms of advisory opinions. So we'll be looking for revisions on those documents from them. Telehealth and opioid, these are again 2 things that they are going to be addressing in terms of putting out some updates for again, to focus on new law changes and what kind of support people need in terms of understanding how telehealth, for example, is going to impact nursing practice, the opioid response, what kind of policies and procedures need to be in place, how is this going to be managed, and they do have several advisory opinions as well as rules and guidelines specific to school nursing. So if you're not familiar with WABON, you can go into the WABON site, look under frequently asked questions and look for the school nurse specific questions and answers. You'll find a lot of guidance there from WABON. And they have a couple of training things. So they just updated their jurisprudence module. Again, it's updated usually about every year and it's been finished. They also have an introduction to WABON. If you're not familiar with them and what their purpose is, you can watch a quick overview of what the purpose of this team is. And they're actually going to be presenting at DISH. So for our February 15th DISH meeting, they're going to be coming on and talking about foundations of and documentation, particularly around PDAs and school nurses related to diabetes management. Okay, some training things we want to make sure you're aware of. One is we get a lot of requests asking about upcoming ESA courses. So the most current course coming up is going to be the UW Foundations for School Nursing. That course starts March 31st. There's a link here to some guidelines for that. If you would like some flyers about it, Sheila has flyers, and there's information about the cost and how this program works. So any questions about that, please let us know, but that is the most current one that is specific to school nursing. The Seattle Children's workshop is coming up this Friday. So we still have an opportunity here for people to register for this course. If you want to attend and you're in School Nurse Corps, please contact Sheila Salmon and Sheila will help you get registered for this. So this is a virtual conference. You can see the types of topics that are offered. Always an excellent program. If any of these are on your goals for this year and you would like to learn more about these, then this is an opportunity for you to do that. Other upcoming events and training we want to make sure you're aware of. Well, we talked about the DA sessions. Those are coming up. We have the next Department of Health School Nurse Connects program coming up on January 30th. That will be from 3 to 4 o'clock. And then we have a number of things coming out February, March, April, and May, and so on. So just right now, we're just going to focus on the 2 things coming up most quickly, but know that these are out there. And so if you're interested in any of them, you're going to want to get them on your calendars. And we talked about SET last time, but I just as a reminder that this course is available to you. After we talked about it last month, we did have people express some interest in this course, and this is an emergency management course. So this is geared specifically for school nurses, and it is a high-level course on how to manage from an administrative level healthcare within an emergency. Okay, and I know my time is up, so I'm just closing with a great thank you. Again, a great thank you to all of you to let you know how much you are appreciated and you're valued, and that you make a huge, huge impact on your students' lives. And we thank you for that every single day. So thank you. Did anybody have any questions?
Kathy, there was a question in the chat from Sarah regarding the date of submitting for your ESA certificate. Is it considered late if it is submitted after the 6 months prior date? Did I ask that right, Sarah? I hope I did.
Yes, that was the question.
Okay.
Like Kathy, so really, are we trying to submit it when it's like been before 4.5 years almost? Like in order for it to be considered on time?
No, well, it's based on whatever is listed as your expiration date. So this is kind of a transition period for them. And so what they asked is that if you're going to expire in 2025, if you were going to expire between January and June, that you submitted your information 6 months prior to, not 6 months prior to, but that you did it in this year, like in 2024.
Okay, so if, let's say, for example, next year, if somebody's certificate was supposed to expire in June of 2026, they really need to be submitting the information in December or November. Their application
Yes.
must be submitted then.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it will get clearer as this kind of rolls out and gets, it is a little bit confusing at this point. And not because I don't think I think it's just the speed of it is that it's kind of gotten a little difficult to try to keep up with what their needs are, or what the purpose of it is. But if you log into your site, you can read kind of the instructions there of how they're going to be doing it at this point. So it should be kind of right on your face page when you log in and look at your look at your information.
Sure. So I'm thinking of clock hours too. So then really you have less time to complete those clock hours than the actual time period allows.
Yes, you do have less time to complete them.
Okay. Okay. Just planning ahead. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Another another question from Daisy about, excuse me, where can we get the links of the courses that you mentioned? I believe
Oh.
she's talking about the set training.
Oh,
Is that correct, Daisy?
Oh, is it? Is it for the set? If it's for the set training, you would get that link right on NASN. So you purchase it right off the NASN webpage. Because Daisy, you are a North Central ESD employee, you would want to talk to your supervisor or your coordinator about getting registered for that and how that would be covered. But it is right on the NASN website. So if you just even Google NASN and SET, SETT, you'll pull the course up.
Okay,
And
thank you so
all
much.
you're welcome. And all the other courses that we list are always posted on the school nurse calendar. So you'll find them there. If you go to
Okay.
the calendar and you just click on go to that date, you will find the link to that course. As well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And of course, Sheila still is also maintaining kind of that, the other separate document that talks about things that are recorded. So not only do we have courses listed on there that are coming up, but it also has links to recorded sessions, because we can't post a recorded session date on a calendar. You would have to have another access point for it. And so Sheila maintains that document, and you'll find that both on the calendar page, as well as if you click on professional development, there's the document is in 2 places on the website.
Okay. There were a couple other questions in the chat, some about the anaphylaxis epinephrine bill, but Taylor went ahead and answered that for I believe it was Danitza who asked about the anaphylaxis bill, and what was happening with that. But then I also wanted to remind everybody that Carrie Harris posted her emails, so that if you're not getting any information about the snow upcoming or if you're not getting emails from her about snow, because she is our area rep, to go ahead and let her know so that she can keep you in the loop. And she did put in a reminder in there about conference. So, all right.
Very good. And again, if you're a school nurse corps person and you're trying to sign up for the snow conference, please register with Sheila rather than independently. And don't hesitate to go to snow. Again, excellent opportunity. And the March Snow Conference is virtual, so you don't have any travel. It's something you can do more easily. So it's always a good conference.
Yeah. All right. Well, we really appreciate your time with us this morning, and thank you for being here and for all of your questions. We're glad we have the opportunity to meet with you today and support your work. So if you have anything that you would like to learn about, or have anyone that you would like to see present to us, please let me know. I am going to put up my last slide here, that for those that are attending virtually, or after the meeting is posted, the recording, but those of you that are live, your attendance has been taken. But if you want to have credit for watching the Zoom and the credit for clock hours, please fill out the Google form and then submit it, so that way Sheila and I can keep track of your attendance of this meeting. Again, if you have any questions on how to obtain clock hours for our meetings, please contact Sheila and I, and we'll be able to help you with that. So without any other questions from anybody, we'll bid you a good day, and thank you for staying with us, and it's great seeing you.